Hello, I'm Tim Tokwe. Thank you for stopping by. I'm going to be showing you how I make my one-off shoulder cut together crop top with a side knot. So if this is what you're interested in, you want to click on the like button and also subscribe to this channel. So let's go straight into the tutorial. So this is the fabric I'm going to be using for this crop top. I'm just going to use the remaining fabric from my palazzo trouser. So I have this fabric folded into 4 already. So what I use to fold this fabric is my bust measurement. I divide my bust measurement into 4. My bust measurement is 34. So divided by 4, I have 8.5. And I added 3 extra inches to this. So I have 11.5 inches here. So the length here is 16 inches. But I want my crop top to be 18 inches. A crop top, so it does not have to be so long. So I'm going to be adding a band of 3 inches to this. So I have this fabric folded into 4. So that means I'm going to be cutting the front and the back together. So to start with, I'm going to place my tape at the center here. And then mark 4 inches sideways. And then also mark 4 inches downward. And then I'm just going to connect with my free hand like this. So if you cannot use your free hand, you can just use your curve rule. So there's not going to be a shoulder because the shoulder is going to be part of the sleeve. But I want this top to have for one part of it to be off. So I'm just going to mark 2 inches extra. But these 2 inches, I'm going to be connecting it to the 4 inches that I marked downward. But I'm not going to be cutting this new line for both. I'm only going to be cutting it for one of the shoulders. So I'm just going to, since I have the 4 fabric folded together here, so I'm just going to cut this 4x4 that I marked earlier. So that is what it's going to be for both of them. So by the time I spread this out now, I'm going to be cutting the remaining 2 inches for one side of the top. So now this is the sleeve. I'm going to be marking the sleeve and I'm going to be marking 7 inches. Because the top is a free top, so I don't have to worry about the armhole. So I'm going to mark 7 inches here. So by the time I joined half inch at the upper part and half inch at the lower part, I'm going to be left with 6 inches. And so when I open that up, that's going to give me 12 inches. And my round sleeve is 11 inches, so that is fine for the sleeve. So here I'm going to be marking half of an inch, and I'm going to be taking that all the way down. So I'm going to mark half of an inch all the way down, and then I'm going to be cutting it out. So I'm just going to curve it from the 7 inches mark that I marked there, and then mark it all the way down. So let me cut it so that you know what I am doing here. So this is the sleeve area. So I'm just going to open it up, the one that is folded there. I'm just going to open it up, and I'm also going to trim it so that it can be uniform. So now I'm going to be joining half of an inch on the sides, but before then I'm going to open the top up so that I can cut the one shoulder that I want to be off. So I marked 2 inches here. So if you have a broad shoulder, you can decide to cut 3 inches or 3.5 inches, depending on how broad your shoulder is. So you can see that this part is shorter than the other shoulder. So now I'm going to be joining the shoulders together, and I'm also going to be joining the sides. So I'm going to be joining the shoulders by half of an inch, and the side also I'm going to be joining it by half of an inch. But this lower part here, I'm going to leave about 2.5 inches space, because there's going to be a band at the end of the top, and the band is going to have an extension that we'll have to use to knot the blouse at the side. So I'm going to be marking 2.5 inches upward this way, and then I'm going to be stitching from here and then stop at the 2.5 inches. So I already stitched the shoulders by half of an inch, and I'm going to be stitching this side. But before stitching this side, I'm going to open this top up like this so that I can tape the neckline. So this is what I'm going to be using to tape the neckline. I have 1 inch. This is the width, the wideness is 1 inch here. So I'm going to be placing it on the neckline or on the right side. So I'm going to be stitching it on the right side. I make sure that the right side is facing the right side. So I'm going to stitch it all the way around. So when I'm done, I'm going to double fold this like this to tape it down. But first of all, let me first stitch it round. And when I get to this starting line, I'm going to join it together and trim off the excess. So I already stitched it together. I can see what it looks like. So here, this is where I joined it together, the starting point and the end line. You can see the way I placed it. I open it up before stitching it to the fabric. So now I'm going to be folding it in this way, and I'm going to be pressing it with my steam iron. So I'm going to use my steam iron on it all the way around. So I already pressed it with my steam iron. You can see how flat it lays. So now I'm going to be pinning it all the way around, and then I'm going to be folding it in about half of an inch, and then I'm going to be stitching it all around the neckline. So this is it. I already did that, and I'm going to go ahead now and press it with my iron. So what we are going to be doing next is this part. I'm going to use this piece. Now I have an interfacing on it. It's about 14 inches long, and the width is 2.5. So by the time I stitch it together, like I fold it now, I'm going to have 1 inch. I already fold it here, so I have about 1 inch here. So now I'm going to be using it to make like a frills on this short shoulder area. So I'm going to open it up like this. Then I'm going to place it here. So I'm going to stitch it like this about half of an inch. Then I'm going to stitch it vertically again I'm going to stitch it vertically, then leave this one up about 1 inch on this side and 1 inch on the other side. Then I'm going to stitch it here, leave about half of an inch space, then move it up again about 1 inch. I'm going to stitch it here also, then move it up about 1 inch and 1 inch on the other side, stitch the other side also, then leave half of an inch, then stitch it, lift it up again, and like that. That is how I'm going to continue. So I'm just going to show you the result. So this is it. You can see what it gives me. So that's just like putting kind of a little style on it. So yeah, I'm going to be fixing the sleeve. I'm going to be taping the sleeve, fixing like a band on the sleeve. So this is the band. It is about 1 inch wide. So when I open it, it's going to be 2 inches. So I'm just going to use it this way on the sleeve. So you can see I already fixed it on both sides of the sleeve. So just like a band. So now I'm going to fold the top to the wrong side, and I'm going to be taking half of an inch on both sides. And remember that on this side, we are not going to sew to the end. We are going to stop at where I chalked there, which is 2.5 inches above. So I'm already done doing that, and I've gone ahead to iron it. And see that 2.5 inches opening. I make sure that I close the rough edges. I turn it so that place could look neat. So now we are going to be fixing the band. So here I have about 3.5 inches band, and the length is 56 inches. So I have it folded into 2 here. So I'm going to be notching the center. So remember that I said that the band is the top is going to have like a knot. So this band, I'm not going to be using everything. So I'm just going to mark about 12 inches. Here I have 3.5, but I'm going to have marked 12 inches from the length. From this 56, and remember that I have it folded into 2. So that means I'm working on both edge. So I'm going to mark 12 inches here, and then I want that 12 inches to be 2.5 inches, so that the part that I'm going to be knotting is not going to be 3 inches or so. So it's going to be smaller than the one that is going directly into the waistline. So I'm going to mark that 2.5 inches. I'm going to mark it out from, I said I'm going to be marking 12 inches. So I marked 12 inches. So is that 12 inches that is going to be 2.5 inches? Why the remaining one remain at 3.5 inches? So I'm just blending it in now, cutting this out. So you can see what it looks like. So I'm just going to blend it in so that the sharp angles will not be too obvious. So remember that I have this notch at the center. So now I'm going to be fixing this on the top. So I'm going to be fixing it on the second side, not the side that I have slitted, but the second side that there is no slit. So now I'm going to open it up this way. And then where I notch, I'm going to be placing one part of the band. You can remember that it's on fold. So I'm just going to take one part. The center that I notch, I'm going to place it here. Open this one up. The allowance, I'm going to open it up. And then I'm going to be pinning this together. So now I'm going to be stitching it on this side and the other side to the next edge. So you can see I'm done stitching it. See, I stitch it by half of an inch. So what I'm going to be doing now is to close the edge here. So I'm going to pin it together, and I'm also going to close the second edge too. So I'll make sure that I'm stitching this on the wrong side, so that by the time I turn it, I'll be turning it out to the right side. So I'm already done stitching, so now I'm turning it out to the right side. So what I'm going to be doing now is to close the band. So I'm going to be closing the band by half of an inch. You can see that I stitch it all around by half of an inch. So I'm also going to be closing the band by half of an inch, using half of an inch to close the band. So what I'm going to do now is to try to pin it down so that it's going to be easy for me to fold. So I'm going to pin these parts together. I'm going to be stitching it all the way down, like all the way around. And this extension also, I'm going to be folding it in on both sides by half of an inch. So for me to easily work on this, I'll just pin it here. And then I'm going to be pinning this extension. You can see the way I'm folding the extension in on both sides. I'm going to be folding half of an inch on both sides. So I'm going to start stitching from the extension here so that it can be easy for me to stitch the rest. So I'm going to start from there and fold everything all the way around. So this is the result. You can see our top, the crop top, and you can see the rope that we have there, the extension there. See the opening. So that is what we are going to be using to tie it to make our knots. Thank you for watching. Do not forget to like and also subscribe to this channel.